All right. Hello. Welcome everyone to our sync today. How's everyone doing?
Well, good.
All right.
Doing great.
Fantastic. We were discussing between the mentors how we are super excited to see how your project turns out. We are blown away by your creativity and like how much work you put into it. It's just really, really great work.
Yep, I'm stoked. You can see I'm literally on the edge of my seat. I'm like,
Matt, I think you're leading demo, so if you wanna
you
get us
don't want to
going.
show us what you got, please? Who's going to be presenting first?
I'm happy to share my screen. Does that work for you all?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, please take it away.
Okay. And please, everyone, feel free to jump in as I go. We spent a lot of the week putting together kind of a plan and working on wireframes. Alex or Rochelle, do you want to talk through the wireframes first? Would that be something we want to do?
Um, I'm happy to help or co-share. I guess feel free, anyone who wants to go ahead for it. I think, yeah. Do you want to take a shot at it, Michelle? I feel like I've been spamming y'all on the group chat lately.
I'm not sure how to speak
I'm
of
also
our
happy.
wireframe since it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
That's fair. I think our updated version of the wireframe is on the upper left-hand side of the Figma document. It's a bit messy right now. If
That's
you
okay.
want to scroll over to it. If you hold on spacebar and you can drag with your mouse actually, or that works too.
More, or is this here?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I can briefly speak over it and then feel free to add, team, if there's anything that I missed. Yeah, we spent a lot of work on this wireframe. It was probably the majority of our time that we spent as a team in the beginning of the week this week. And yeah, I know they're so cute. I think we all agreed that we wanted something minimalistic but fun where we could make it. And there were ideas thrown around by Sarah and Randall on cute like food icons that interact when like you purchase items or like having some type of fun character. And I know Ashel had brought up ideas on like a retro design on top of like a minimalistic. So I've kind of combined all of those ideas to have something with this type of color scheme that is AA compliant. And I think we were looking at a website that I had showed us that was also showing AAA compliancy, which made it a bit harder. For the most part, this is AA compliant and mostly AAA compliant, color scheme wise. And so we have decided to forego an onboarding page and make the home page more direct, which is going to be that first wireframe there. I'm not sure if that's our temporary logo for now, but I believe that's our stretch goal is to create a more unique character and icon for our app. But right now that's what we have. And um and parking lot this note, but this is something that isn't in our issues list that we'll have to consolidate after this call. Anybody want to add anything on that on this particular wireframe or the thought process behind it? If not, we could probably just scroll through the rest of the wireframes. And then, so once you create or join a list, you're brought to the list page, which if it's empty, you have an empty oven. And we were playing around with puns that were kind of fun. And if it's filled, we all decided that we like to have like that funness to it and use the bread or the burntness of bread to help users see which items are overdue kind of soon, or that type of buying urgency. And at the top, we included the current list title on top of a copy icon so that users can send it to whoever they'd want to share that list with for the join list feature. And then our search bar there is styled a bit. And then for our add item, our final wireframe is on the last one. We all agreed and voted to keep the slices of bread as icons inside of the radio checkboxes for the form. And yeah, so I think that's the majority of our wireframe, minus the exit, how the nav bar looks like when you click on that hamburger icon and where things are placed when you do click on it. But yeah, so feel free to add anything though if I missed anything. We all worked pretty hard on this, and I'm just really proud of us. And yeah, I'm happy with this wireframe.
I love it.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm curious where so are the items in your list going to live inside of the oven? So like how, like if you have like, 10 items, how did y'all decide to display those?
Yeah, so right now, we did briefly discuss that as a team, and I know that you pointed that out in Slack, which I was like, that's a good point because we were thinking about that too. What we've realized is, or we haven't fully fleshed out that type of edge case where what if there's like, over 50 list items? Right now, since I'm working on the case of how the list page is shown, actually the individual list elements are thinner, so you're able to put more inside of that oven. So it's kind of like instead of scrolling on your home page, you're scrolling inside the oven, which is just a smaller view. But that's something I think like once my issue gets pushed, we can talk about how we'd like to modify it stylistically, but that's a very great point. I don't know if that's the best answer right now, but
No, that's great. That's great.
Anything else on the wireframe?
No, I'm just taking it all in, but
Brace yourselves for lots of really good bread puns. And if you have any, we will also accept those.
yes.
Yes. So
try and like let that simmer. I'll try and think of something.
awesome. We took kind of all of these and then split it into different issues, and towards the end of the week started working on creating the issues and assigning the issues out and working on those. If it's okay with everyone, I'm going to start with Bootstrap since we have that one merged. But basically, Bootstrap just is kind of the initial designing that we're then going to customize on top of. And so some of the new things you'll see is that the navigation bar is at the top, no longer at the bottom. And actually, I'm going to show this in the mobile view because that is what I think we had talked about doing. Can everyone still see it okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So then when you click the nav bar, this is what it looks like. So some of the differences are the buttons look a little bit different and the input fields look a little bit different. So going to my test list, the search items bar is a little different. I did not spell that right. And then the little X is a little bit different. And then the items are stored in a list group rather than just a list. And so there's those lines between them. And the checkboxes are, again, Bootstrap checkboxes. So that's what that looks like. And then when you navigate to the add item page, again, looks mostly the same, but the radio buttons are designed with Bootstrap, the input is, and the add item field is. So if we want to buy eggs, And the toast notifications are still the same. And then looking at the code for that, I'm not going to go through everything because there's quite a bit in here. But I added the React Bootstrap dependency in index.jss, added the CSS files for Bootstrap. And then app.jsx is where the nav bar was added in so that it would appear on every single page. And then created the nav bar component here to export to the app. And that uses container nav and nav bar elements from Bootstrap. Let's see, then home. Home only uses button and form from Bootstrap right now. And so that was, if you look down here, changing the buttons to changing the button to a Bootstrap button to create the new list, and changing the form to a Bootstrap form for joining an existing list. List, the list view imports the button, input group, form, and list group. And the way those are used is, let's see. So input group is used, let's see, for the searching section, and the input group is used so that we can have the actual input and that little button to X out on it. And then list group is what the list items live in, that changes kind of how it appears. Then list item, maybe, was button, list group, and form, so similar to how others have looked. And then add item, sorry, my computer is struggling today. There, button, form, and input group again. So it was all kind of a similar, just sort of refactoring what we already had using Bootstrap. Any Bootstrap questions?
I don't think I had any Bootstrap questions for you. I only saw one thing to point out as far as like might be worth revisiting, like on a either backlog or just on the next go round with something. I saw the button close, I think is what it does, and it's got the X as far as what's inside the button. You may want to put like a ARIA label or something like that, so that if somebody's using it with a screen reader, that it announces that, you know, this thing will close, like, you know, close the modal or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
Instead of X. Does that make sense?
Would that be like here for?
Yeah, I think you could probably just do like ARIA label equals close or something like that. And you know, you still keep the X inside of it as far as what the button text is.
Okay.
Or if you chose to use like a, you know, an icon as opposed to the X, you still have that label to fall back to. That was it. As far as the Bootstrap thing, I think you probably made a good call to get it merged, because, you know, when I heard y'all were trying to pick out like a different library like Bootstrap, for example, I thought, well, maybe it won't affect the markup that much, or maybe it won't affect the JSX. Maybe it'll be just class names, and that's all you really need to use. But because it was affecting actually like the markup and affecting the structure, if you will, like even if it was just swapping one thing to another, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and get it merged in that way. You're not necessarily going to have as many conflicts moving forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think you'll make a good call.
We noticed that there would be styling conflicts if we tried to do Bootstrap after, and we ended up, I don't remember exactly where it was, but we had to change one of the CSS files so that the nav bar didn't like take up the entire view, and things like that.
Yeah. I think it was a great call.
Then Ashel and Alex and Randall, do you want to talk about any of the things we have coming up, or should we leave it at that for right now?
I actually have some questions that maybe you or the mentors can act on. So as I look at the and thank you by the way, Sarah, for doing that. As I look at the wireframe, can we override Bootstrap's colors? I know they've got their preset like primary and warning and all that. Can we do the gray thing and all that? I've never tried that before. And the other question I had was, well, it kind of is more about scope. Like for our fonts, I'm pretty sure that can be like a global scope, right? We had the two fonts we chose. Although I think there's four, but I picked the Ludo and the Lustria based on one of the things we said. And as I looked at other like groups to get ideas, because I found there's 5 different ways to style in React, which is fun. I started looking at other groups and seeing that they kind of sometimes did it for each component, they had their own styling, right? And so, and then looking at that versus inline style and all that. So I'm looking to see how that all works while having Bootstrap on and if things conflict or not. So I have questions about that. I think we can kind of problem solve it if I just ask this morning folks, but that's what I was sitting with on issue 19.
A couple things that we in the Bootstrap documentation, I don't know exactly where it is in here. It talks about, I think, using SAS files to overwrite Bootstrap. And I don't know that we have fully talked about what the global styling versus styling by page. I think right now our approach is to do it by page.
Right.
But like looking at like the list page, since the oven and the list items are the only things appearing here, like this would probably only be styled on this page, but I'm not as certain of how we have decided to go about it for like colors and fonts and buttons and like the input fields and stuff like that.
I have something to add to that, if it's helpful. But yes, +1 on what Sarah said. I think we haven't been able to touch base as a team yet via video on like what capacities look like for next week, including like consistent styling. But right now, I actually am excited to show y'all. Like I got a bit excited, and I do have a lot of the list pages like core styling pretty much like okay, minus like, you know, padding issues. But what I've been doing, which may not be best practice, is I'm using Bootstrap, and then I am adding inline style changes to make it adjust to my needs, which I think parking lot does too. Also, I'd have to probably make another CSS component to probably streamline all those in one place rather than having random style tags inside of the list component. But there are ways to do it. Yeah, we were looking at we can override the actual Bootstrap styling with SAS. Or I think when Sarah was screen sharing the other day while we were working on Bootstrap, you could overlay another CSS file as long as it doesn't conflict with like the Bootstrap stuff. But in my experience so far, I've had to not use that because it's been messing with Bootstrap sizing. But yeah, that's definitely something we'll have to talk about, I feel like, when we address the styling issue as a team. But that's a good point.
Great progress. One word of caution I want to say that make sure that you have enough time for all your plans because you have only 1 week left. So next Saturday will be our final demos. So try to spread out your time to make sure that you will be done with everything on time.
Anything else we want to walk through for the demo, or are we good?
I can show my work as well, unless anyone else, I don't know if Sarah, or sorry, Ashel, you'd like to show your exit. I don't know if that's something you'd want to do. Or I could go ahead with that.
Yeah, you can show it, Alex. Your work at least.
Sorry,
well,
sorry, go ahead.
Mine was not merged yet. Because I know there's still some reviews that I'm waiting on. But mine is pretty straightforward. So you can go ahead and share yours, Alex, and maybe afterwards I could.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you did. Sorry to put you on the spot. Um, but cool, cool. Okay, I'll show y'all the styling for list page on, but I'm gonna show y'all the file. It's a big, what do you call it? PR like change. So I apologize in advance. I know it's gonna be a bit hefty to review. But I'm gonna show you the images that I've added and the files that have been added. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. So I've added all of our loaves with the text inside. I've added our oven, which to be honest with you, it was a bit of a struggle because I wasn't sure how to export like a Figma made item without it like because it's a vector, the pixels are really blurry, but I found out a way to export it as an SVG, which was really helpful. Um, and so these are some of the images we have. I've got some of our icons included. But what I have so far is, let me log out really quick of this. But I was able to figure out how to do overlay text on images and got our oven inside, which I know is a stretch goal at first, but I knew it was pretty important to our styling theme, so I really wanted to make it happen. But if we were to go to our list that has like all those items, you'll see that there's our oven with our like shopping list items. The padding I'm still working on because it's a bit weird with how the check mark and the label has to be close to each other when stylistically we want the label centered. So that's something I'm playing around with. But the buttons are functional. Like if this is the website view and it enlarges because I use percentages for it to be mobile adaptive. And so the delete buttons do work and everything's still functional. I added a search icon there and the current list is new, which does include a working copy to clipboard function, which activates React Hot Toast notification. That's pretty much what I've been working on. I don't know. In the code, it was a lot of learning how React Bootstrap divs differentiate from like React Bootstrap like paragraph text because sometimes like it would give me warning errors and I was like, why is there a warning error? But I was able to mitigate those a little bit. But yeah, this is what it looks so far in web, which I'm trying to make it so it's not as large. But the mobile is pretty good so far. Like it does what we want. I just have to fix the how the list items are sized so it's not overflowing on the width side of it.
Alex, did you play around at
And
all with like flex displays?
no, that's one of my weak points right now because I don't have much flex. I haven't played around with like flex boxes, but I
Yeah,
think
it's
yeah.
built into Bootstrap pretty easily. So like you can just
Mhm.
I would experiment with that because I actually think the web app version looks good, but
Yeah.
maybe something for mobile, like instead of trying to squeeze everything into like a tiny width, like you could actually do,
Mhm.
and so it could be like
Oh,
like that's kind of a
okay.
common thing sometimes, just because again, yeah,
Yeah.
you don't want to like have to swipe horizontally.
Right.
So
One
anyway,
of
Yeah.
just something to look at. So yeah.
one other thing that might
Yeah.
be interesting, but it might also be a lot of work. So like I would take this as a default.
Yeah.
You could conceivably make like a smaller version of those SVGs, like where it's got, I don't know what those are called, like the parts in the top of the bread, like instead of having 4, maybe it's got 2. And so it makes it less wide. And it doesn't
Oh,
take up as much space, but you still get the color.
yeah.
And you know, I think Bootstrap probably has the, what do you call it, breakpoints for, you know, the width of the screen and extra small versus small and things like that. I think I do remember that typically I feel like I remember the best practice is that you make the mobile view like the default, and then everything else just overrides it, if that makes any sense. Like you make it the thing that is the least amount of tweaks, and then everything else tweaks on top of it. But anyway, that again could be more work than it's really worth, but it might solve a pain point and make it a little bit easier to deal with, just to not have to deal with that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Ashel brought that up too on like how to style mobile. So I was playing around with that, but I think I will need to look at Flexbox, I think, to adjust those, because it was kind of like the bane of my existence in terms of like making the padding and everything like work out. But I should explore Flexbox, and maybe also I think there is a way to make these loaves of bread smaller. I'm thinking I can do that. I can manipulate that in Figma and export it to our images, and yeah, I'll be exploring with that for sure. I don't think it's too bad, but I do appreciate, like, please, I made this like in the last 2 days, and any like advice on like how to go about like grid styling and stuff like that for the list view is very much appreciated. Yeah. Oh, I don't think I showed y'all, or I showed it long enough, what it looks like without shopping list items. I had to find an image that had a transparent background, and then ended up just making, or not making it, but found one and then used a transparent background generator for it. But if we were to create a new list, this is what appears. Styling wise,
I just love that. I mean, I want to eat that thing. Like,
oh, I accidentally messed up
I would
the
totally
thing.
buy stuff on this list and like clear it out just so I could see that thing and just drool over it.
Just make him happy, or them happy.
Oh yeah. I mean, like that would be the funniest transition that you would do after next Saturday, is like when you have the first list item, he's like, yay.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I'm excited to share this with the team. And obviously, this isn't final. This isn't before we've made consistent styling adjustments. And yeah. But yeah, any questions? I know I haven't showed this officially in terms of like the demo to the rest of the team. It's been 2 days, but yeah, that's what I have so far. I'm gonna try and push this out, the PR for it, sooner, like probably Monday or Tuesday, maybe Monday. That way, like as a team, we can work on consistent styling with this component ready at least. Yeah. But
I think it's awesome.
cool. I will stop sharing.
Nice work, Alex. That's awesome.
Amazing.
All right. Ashel, would you like to share your PR work, or?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, I'll make you a host.
Can y'all see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so my issue was when the user is on their list, if they've accessed their list, then they have an option to exit that list in the nav bar. And we also made it so that the exit list link in the nav bar will only appear if you are inside of the list page or the route. So for example, here we don't have it because they're not inside their list yet. Actually, even if their list is empty, if you go to list, I believe it'll show up like right here. So I don't know if we want exit lists to only be visible if they're actually in a list or if they're just in the list page, regardless of whether there's actually items in there. So if you go to home and then, for example, if you go to my test list, there's our list, and you also see in the application that the token list is there. And then if you click exit list, you'll be routed back to home and the key will now be removed from local storage. So that's basically the basic functionality. And for that, I think I'll go ahead and share VS Code. You guys can't see my VS Code, can you?
Not yet.
Okay. So I'll share that. Okay now?
Yep.
Cool. So in our navbar shopping list.jsx, that's the new component that we did for when we implemented Bootstrap. So as you can see, we have like all those Bootstrap syntax. But here I used use location, which is from React Router, and that gives us access to an object that gives us information about the path that we're in or the route. And so we did that because we wanted to just have a ternary there that if the location.path name is equal to list, then that's only when the exit list will be visible, and the rest of the pages will not have exit list in them, so it'll just be null. And also I put like the on-click event there to remove the shopping list token from local storage if user clicks on exit list. Yeah, that's about it for VS Code. So
Nice work. I wish this would have been implemented like in week 2.
Yeah.
Like
It's
honestly,
gonna be
this should be like one of the first issues, I think, because it's so annoying to clear out local storage, but really nice job.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I mean that's probably worthwhile to like pass back on to the folks that run it in terms of like trying to sneak that into one of the stretch goals and one of the issues for an early week.
Agreed. Thank you everyone for the demo. If we are ready, we can go to a learning module.
Oh, I want to shout out Ashel really quick because luckily I reviewed your PR first before I really coded mine, and I needed to use your path name code for making sure that the current list only showed on the list page. So it worked out.
Hey, nice.
Okay, just a moment. Okay, wonderful. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. So today in our learning module, we're going to be talking about communication for developers. As you may have noticed, communication is a key in most aspects of your life. And we are going to take a look at a few means of communication among developers, such as documentation, pull requests, and comment and code. In the end, I would also like to leave some time for us to reflect on what you noticed about communication while working on this project or in any other projects as well. So let's begin with documentation. Documentation is an important aspect of any project on a team. It is essential in maintaining and sharing knowledge across different individuals and teams. And one common challenge that people face when working on complex issues or projects is the need to remember all the important details, decisions, and the actions that were taken during the course of the project. And the longer project goes, the harder it is to remember all the little details. And that is where documentation comes in very handy. In addition to writing things down, usually reinforces your learning. You're more likely to remember what you wrote down, and you are likely to remember it for a longer time. Arguably, the biggest benefit of documentation is its usefulness when you onboard new team members. When someone joins the team, they quickly need to get up to speed and get up to speed on the current state of the project. And having a good documentation makes the process smoother and faster for them, with the most common questions being addressed ahead of time. I would say another advantage of documentation is that it helps to avoid institutional knowledge. And institutional knowledge refers to the knowledge that one particular person or a team holds, and which is not documented anywhere. So in case that person or a team leave the company, no one knows what to do, which you can see how that could pose a problem. And finally, the documentation promotes transparency, and it also empowers team members and ensures that everyone is working towards the same goals and that everything is clear and there is no misunderstanding. So it helps to save time and resources. So there are a few tips for writing a good documentation. So first of all, assume that you're writing for the person who has the least experience with the project or the topic. And also make sure to format things that for the people who do have the prior knowledge, they would be able to quickly search for the particular piece of information that they're looking for. A few examples of documentations. I'm actually very happy to say that you've been looking through the docs a lot, and I admire that about your team. And I think you already have some of experience, and just making sure that you create documentation for your project is something that you should keep in mind. All right, next we go to the pull request. So PRs allow developers to review and collaborate on the code changes before they're merged to the main code base. Giving reviewers the context on your code and what you're trying to achieve, it usually helps to ensure that your code quality is high, that it meets project requirements, that it's free of bugs or errors, and there are also additional benefits to it. As the time goes, sometimes even you have to master the skill on writing PRs as detailed as possible. And there are a few tips on how to do that. So you guys been doing that really well, attaching the screenshots and videos showing the before and after, also highlighting what the changes were for and how you approach them. A few other things would be attaching links to resources for your reference or for people who review your code reference. And also try to keep PRs small and scoped, so you don't need to write the novel, but at the same time, you want to make sure to address all the main points. And once again, shout out to you. I think your PRs are on point, and just keep the good work up. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is comments and codes. As you may have noticed, when you work with different people, touching different parts of the code, working on different tasks, comments become an essential aspect of development, and they help you understand what's going on with this particular line of code or piece of code. It provides the context, and they also improve the readability. Comments are usually a way for developers to explain their code to others and making it easier to understand and modify. As the code base grows, and as you continue to work on a project, sometimes you look back even at your own code, like a few months past. And if you don't have good comments, you look at it like, why did I make this particular thing? So to make the life easier for you, fellow developers, just please make sure you pay attention to the comments and you try to make them clear and concise. And a few tips on how to do that is, it is important to give the context behind what your code does and explain why, not only how, because the how could be quite straightforward, just looking into the implementation, but the meaning of it and why you chose a certain approach, or, you know, like what are the changes that you made and what were your assumptions. So make sure to document that. And yeah, so I just want to iterate that by writing clear, concise, and informative comments, help make your code more maintainable and increase its overall value. So comments, very important. And here are some of the resources that you can read on about the comments. And in general, there's a really good book I recommend. It's called Clean Code. It touches on a lot of, it's an old book, but most of the concepts still stay. And it's a good read, and it's a good practice to implement into your coding. All right, so now I would like to hear about your experience with communication. What have you noticed? What has been working for you? What could have been improved? You know, any at all, please share. Wow, all the volunteers.
I try not to go first because men are always talking first. But if no one goes, I'll go.
Go, Randall.
Sure. I have found, like Will has been saying, that this team's been really amazing about communicating, and I definitely can step it up because so much gets covered in the threads, and then I'm like reading through all of it, and then as well as in the code, like the comments have been wonderful from day one, and seeing people's PRs. I'm like, oh, okay, and I know what this does. So definitely a lot easier than it was when I was first starting. So I appreciate the communication and the clarity that people have been working with. So
Yeah, I think I guess I'll just share like a personal take on how I tend to do things. Like I definitely tend to put more information in inline code comments as far as like at the top of a method or whatever that describes more what it does, not why it does it. Only because in many cases, like we're writing things that are packages for other things to consume rather than an application, if that makes any sense. And so code comments do help a lot as far as to describe what things do. But as far as the why, I tend to use commit messages for that. Because at least in my mind, like a lot of the source control stuff that we use, it's not GitHub, it's something else. And so it's often the commit messages where I put the why. And again, it's like a logistical, okay, I agree with everything that was on there. It's just maybe a little bit different in terms of what gets captured and how, but that's just personally. Otherwise, though, I think y'all have, in a short time, have come a long way in terms of what y'all have sort of exhibited in your practices and the way that you tend to do it and the way that you tend to consume it as well. And it certainly speaks to how a lot of being a developer is more reading actually than it is writing. You actually don't write that much. It's more that you're writing the right thing, not necessarily a lot of it. And Googling. Awesome.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I think that, you know, working out this muscle of documenting things is really valuable, because what you'll find in the real world is that institutional knowledge, again, like high level engineers kind of like just knowing everything and like that information getting spread evenly is not always the case. And so, you know, it can definitely like provide there is some friction there sometimes in terms of like who knows how to do what or why this decision was made. So, you know, even as early career devs, you know, just again getting into that habit, you know, highlighting that as a skill that you have like through practice and that sort of thing, I think is really valuable. Because yeah, it just shows again like the awareness to like build onto everyone's base of knowledge, which again I think is really valuable. So
yeah, I think documenting our progress, especially in the PRs, was really helpful. Like in the last issue when we were working, Alex and I were working with dates. She recommended I start the PR to kind of understand it better, and I really did understand it better because I was so confused like initially. So I think documenting is super important for like everyone.
I, like, similar to that, have found that doing comments, like inline comments or doing PRs, has helped me to like better understand what I am doing, and to be, I think, like being able to explain it is like one level of deeper like internalizing than just being able to do it.
What I would add, +1 on what everyone has said, I have not documented my code before this. I've just pushed and merged here and there with projects. And looking back, I'm like, wow, if I wanted to write about this project, I really don't have much to like remember from. And I think that documentation is like would be like you all had said, would be really important for interviews. And I agree that I think it makes a lot of sense to be very specific in your code in terms of commenting that way. Like other people working on it, especially if it's a complex issue, can have like a good-ish grasp of it. So yeah, I appreciate all that I've learned so far in terms of documenting and like just collaborating with my team because everyone here is amazing.
All right, thank you everyone for sharing. So I believe the next on the agenda is going over the tasks for the upcoming week. I think we already touched that, but if there's anything you guys want to add, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy for y'all to like take this part over. If you want to self-organize, talk about who wants to pair up or how you want to split up the remaining issues. At this point, we're trying to keep up with y'all. So, yeah, I would just say let's use the rest of this time to figure out the game plan.
Have all of the issues,
Sorry, go ahead.
I ask if all the issues we've talked about have been added?
I'll accept the updated since the vote of removing onboarding and replacing the homepage. So I've added like a tab, but I haven't been able to go back and change it. Let me look at it actually. I think there are still some, now that we're going into the second week, I don't know if we'd like to finish assignment of what we know are issues for upcoming. I don't know how y'all feel about that.
If someone wants to share their screen, I don't know, if you have them pulled up, that might be helpful.
I can do that.
Cool.
I just think I need, there we go, perfect. One thing also, I think we're just waiting for a couple more approvals on the backlog that's on here, so we can get that off the list as soon as I think the rest of the reviews are done with that. So that one's super close to being done.
I saw that earlier this week and I'm like, oof.
Which ones? Because I don't think we're doing the same thing, right? If like, does everyone have to approve at this point? Like, I was under the impression that like, once you have a couple, you're good to go. I thought. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Like, I don't want things to be slowing you down. So if you see that a few people have this, there's nothing obviously wrong with it. So go ahead and just merge.
Awesome.
Yeah, things are going to have to move quickly. So
I have a quick question. Sarah, so I know when we were writing the issues down, you wrote 17, and I saw that you had assigned yourself it. Are you comfortable? Does that mean you're comfortable like doing that issue this upcoming week?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure because I know that when we were writing these issues, we hadn't officially assigned them yet.
I thought we were assigning them, but that I can definitely
I can definitely
I'm happy to do that.
That works.
And
And
Alex, didn't we talk about splitting issue 15? Because there was the homepage as well.
yes, yeah, and I saw you already kind of did that inadvertently with doing exit list. So I think 18 can turn into homepage. That's what I was thinking. Do y'all feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yep.
And that means issue 18 is up for grabs if that's the case. Because I'm thinking, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I'm happy to jump on that or 20 or all that stuff as well. I might need to handle a couple things on 19, but yeah, I'm happy to jump into whichever ones we're doing.
What issue are you currently on, Randall?
I was working on 19. I did the fonts. I was messing around a little bit with the second part of it. If you click on it, was the let me look it up. I was messing around with colors. Although did we decide on those that you guys have them? Or those set at the top of the Figma? You wanted those kind of backgrounds, or were we changing the schemes?
Are you talking about the color?
Yeah, the colors.
I think the colors are pretty set
Okay.
that we've decided from, yeah. So that should help a little bit, I hope.
Yeah, that's fine.
Uh,
I was working with the mobile stuff and everything. I got a little bit stuck on in terms of styling how globally these things are, but I can keep going now that I know that looks like we're doing it by component for the most part. The only thing I've done in the index was put the fonts that should be everywhere.
Thanks for taking that on too.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I knew that this particular issue might be a bit hard to whoever would have taken would have a hard time wrapping their head around it just because we haven't completed all of our components per se
Right. I had a feeling
stylistically.
that we'd have to go back to it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's why in my head I was thinking maybe we could potentially, depending on our capacity, of course. I know I don't have like a full-time job outside of this, so I know I can take on more. Um, in terms of like maybe pushing out, like for example, my list item page and maybe
Yeah.
the add item and the home page, like in the first half of next week. I don't know how realistic that is, but I don't know when y'all would like to talk about our minimizing scope or maybe just reassigning of like work. Maybe that might be worth visiting.
Yeah, I think in general, like if you look at an issue like this and it seems like this doesn't feel like it's going to happen in one go, or it feels like this is probably going to have to wait on something else,
Right.
then it's definitely worthwhile considering breaking it up into 2 or 3 and wrapping up the first 1 or 2 with like very minimal friction, and then letting whatever still has friction come when it comes. You know what I'm saying? I think at this point in a project, you always want to favor velocity over much else.
So it sounds like one next step is for us to split this one up into what can be done more quickly and what would have to wait. Am I hearing that right?
That's definitely what I would suggest. If you can easily delineate, like, okay, this half of the issue, I don't have to wait on anything, and then this half, I need to wait, or I'm not really sure what to do, then yeah, don't hold up progress. Just grab progress as aggressively as you can.
Would ARIA labels and things like that happen after all the colors and everything is set, or does it matter when we put that kind of stuff? Because I know it's accessibility.
It probably doesn't matter, especially if it's a separate line.
Right.
Like if you make the code so it's a separate line in the JSX, then it makes it a lot more straightforward to not worry about a merge conflict.
Okay.
Is issue 20 also one of those issues that will depend on other components?
Issue 20 is creating the
Fun theme.
creating a unique theme for, or sorry, fun theme. I think we got down. I was thinking issue 20 focused more so on like the creation of a fab icon or a favicon, however you say it, on top of like a logo that if we looking at it now, I don't know capacity wise how we feel about that because I know we might be more stuck on the more functional components, but like I was thinking 20 would be more so like creating our own version of the croissant or the donut on our homepage currently in the wireframe.
Okay.
So it's more of a stretch goal.
I think that's what we agreed on initially, but I'm happy to like, talk with y'all if we want to make that not a stretch goal or maybe assign it to a different issue.
What if we check in on like Wednesday and see how we're feeling about
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah.
I like that.
I'd be happy to take 18 because that's related to
15.
15, yeah, if no one else.
And I was
Yeah,
thinking,
I could do
Randall.
that. I could do 18. I could also jump in on 15 with the Alex with the flex stuff. So I've done a lot of that.
Okay, yeah, I was about to ask you, like, Randall, I know you said you could help me. Maybe you could,
Yeah.
I could steal you
Yeah.
for a
No,
bit. Yeah,
just one thing I've done, it's a lot of
flex
styling and
back.
flexing.
Awesome.
I've never styled in React, so this is a little bit new for me.
Cool. I'm sure we'll both learn a lot.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So that means Randall will be helping me with 16 and also helping Michelle with 18. Is that a good plan?
Sure.
Cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was 15. 16, yes.
And then we will just wait on number 20.
Yeah. I feel like that's
Yeah.
like finishing touches, right?
Yes.
Works for me.
Has anybody ever wondered why the numbering of the issues is like so weird? Not the fact that you're labeling them with 18, 19, but why is it number 34?
Oh,
Have you wondered that before?
I assumed that was the setup of the whole app, or what is it?
I think it's because the pull request is part of the history.
Yeah.
Ah,
The pull requests take up the same like database identifier
okay.
list as the
Okay,
issues.
okay.
Oh, it did diverge, didn't it?
Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, it took me a while before I ever noticed it, but I definitely noticed it.
I think we're all set then with next steps with these.
Yeah, I went ahead and threw an approve on that issue number 6 backlog. And full disclosure, I didn't read it.
That's some trust right there.
Is that industry standard?
If you want me to read it, I can, but I went ahead and put an approve on
But
there.
if it messes everything up, Matt, it's going to be all your fault now.
No, it's not.
All the money we invested.
It's going to be everybody's fault.
All right.
That bread will be when the bread goes bad, nobody wins.
Can I say something? Isn't it a bit ironic that our app is bread themed and we've used React Hot Toast?
Hey.
Not ironic, but in a good
Really
way.
good observation.
I was gonna say if this was like 2 or 3 years ago when everybody was making sourdough bread like as a hobby, like let me get cure my depression
Focaccia.
by making sourdough bread, then this would have just taken right off. Like
Right. I think
hockey
next
stick
Saturday,
away.
if we finish, we should all have a drink and raise a toast.
Wait,
If we
Randall,
finish, we have to finish.
Ashell, I'll be in California middle of March.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know, Sarah, you want to join me on a trip to Cali, but
Yeah.
I think I'm not sure which part. I think you guys are in the LA area,
We're in the
right?
LA area. She's southern.
Yeah,
Not quite LA.
maybe. Oh, okay. Maybe, we'll see. It snowed here last
Yeah.
night, so
You guys have time.
You
We're happy to show
Are
you
you
around.
like halfway between
Yeah.
like San Diego and LA, Alex?
No. She's much closer, right? Where are you, in Irvine? Right?
Well, me?
Yeah.
I'm in Hollywood.
Oh, okay. Oh,
That's LA.
why did I think you were down in Orange County? Oh,
Oh,
crazy then.
the boot camp that I took is in Orange County.
Okay. Oh, never mind then. She's in LA. My bad. More than me then.
I have a quick question for the team for the collabs. I'll send another scheduling link for us to like redo our schedules this week, but do y'all have a preference on meeting early before the Wednesday check-in, or would you rather just check in on a Wednesday as like a quick touch base thing? But I'm down for either like async and then Wednesday, or maybe like a quick touch base on Monday. Not
I
sure
can
how
touch
y'all
base
feel
Monday.
about
I
that.
work in the afternoon, but I'm happy to make time Monday.
yeah, Monday, touch base on Monday.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
All right.
All right, fantastic, everyone. I'll stop the recording right now.